real news. Honest and fun political talk weekly on the line 90.7 FM. We are joined now with some friends on the other side of the pond who are going to give us their take on the British elections, where Boris Johnson and the Conservative Party swept the map. They got 365 seats. The Labour Party got 203, Scottish Nationalists 48, and the Lib Dems 11. Brexit Party and UKIP 0. And Jeremy Corbyn will be stepping down soon, and I think Brexit's going to finally happen. And this will, I think, foreshadow a Trump landslide in 2020. So, everyone who is with us, would you like to introduce yourselves, give us a rundown of what you do, who you are, what your involvement in any of this is, or where you align, and we'll dive into it.
Hey, would you like to start? And I'll come in.
Yeah, sure.
I'm the leader of an organisation called Antifa Public Watch, and my aim is to dig every bit of dirt on the left and publicise it and show everybody what they're about. I expose the left-wing tactics and violence. We're based in Leeds, UK. That's about it.
Sounds good. Who's next?
All right. Well, my name's Vinnie Sullivan. Prolifically hated by the left. I've been everything from stabbed to, had everything taken from me by them. I run the Reality Report, which is grouped with Antifa Public Watch, and we're all about positive conservatism in a world which is very much collapsing. You see, we don't have the luxury of your amendments. We don't have your freedom of speech, and keeping an upper lip in such an environment is a very difficult task. So we're about asserting patriotic rights, the right to be proud of who you are, especially being British and white. It's something that's important, especially in a Western world which is suffering as a result of very, very unpleasant plans. And I don't think we should be too optimistic, personally, about this result until we see something fruitful, because in England we hear things again and again, and it's always just red herrings. We've had a prime minister in the Conservative Party that was wearing a hijab, and all of a sudden, because of the Brexit Party come into play, we've got Boris Johnson and Jacob Rees-Mogg giving us everything we want to hear. Well, until I see the final product, I'm going to continue to be a skeptic, because it's difficult to remain optimistic when you put all your cards in one basket.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that makes sense. You want to see results first for actually, you give them any sort of praise or optimism.
Yes.
Anybody else that's in here? Oh, yep. I guess not. Okay, so
this.
Oh no, we got somebody.
This guy, Lee Shears, he's not very good with speaking, but he's actually a pretty important guy. He runs around with a lot of people and a lot of cameras, and they basically go out into these public events and they film everything that happens. So the people that are running around masked up and committing violence, he gets really close to them. I don't know if you noticed the logo he has, but it's very sneaky. So it kind of looks like it's a pro Antifa logo, and he gets in really close. And if you guys check him out,
explain Lee a little bit
he's got some amazing footage.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, give us a rundown of him.
This guy here, Vinnie. Sorry, go ahead, Vinnie.
Well, Lee is 1 in a million, and there's a reason that we found ourselves together.
Mm-hmm.
People which goes to places people only talk about going to.
Yeah.
And I myself have encountered many of the left and encountered many situations which are dodgy and dangerous. And him and I share this one factor. If you Google our name, you'd think we was football hooligan, lunatic, harassing, abusing, complete psychopath, Nazi, whatevers. And I needn't tell the audience that anyone who's done that well to get hatred from the far left is doing something positive.
Yeah, I know what you mean. We got a lot of hatred when we brought Sargon here to Penn State, and it was only hatred from the right people, if you know what I mean.
Oh, yeah, of course. But Lee is a legend. I mean, it's hard to summarize in a short time without boring everyone, but he is. But you'll have to go and see for yourself. I won't bore everyone.
Yeah, sure. I'm curious though. Did he get any footage of the Antifa protest the other
I
night?
hate politics as well. I hate politics. I can't do it, which is weird, but yeah.
So So you hate politics, but do you feel like you're forced into it now?
No, well, how it started was Tommy Robinson had been sent to prison.
Yeah.
The first time when he was exposing the grooming gangs. Now, I attended a protest in Leeds because it was in my area. And when I attended there, there were loads of patriotic people, flags, everything. But on the other side of the road, there was a crowd of people, and it was stand up to racism, well-established organisations, with good reputations. But they was causing so much chaos. It was unreal. I mean, a police officer ended up getting a bottle thrown in her face and she was hospitalised.
Was that by the Antifa people?
Yeah, by the left.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the next day in the newspaper, on the headline of the Yorkshire Evening Post, far-right Tommy Robinson thugs injure police officer and puts her in hospital. And I was like, I was there. The right, these patriots never did such thing. But anyway, I took that on board and I attended another event, and it was the same again. So I just started a Facebook page, and the aim was to just find videos and articles exposing this behaviour, and the page just shot through the roof. And now I go on the streets, I go to the events, and I go to confront these Antifa.
Mm-hmm. I got the blame for him for months. I got the blame for him. He was anonymous for ages. I got the blame.
I'm curious, did any of you guys go to the Antifa protests that were, I think, last night or 2 nights ago because of the conservative victory?
Right, when you see them quite often, I have to point out, when you are most of us that protest only protest when you're truly losing or you've got something to. If you're turning up when you've just won a victory, you're just there for bad optics, really. Because they're going to smash the place up. They're going to smash the place up. They're going to make idiots out of themselves. When they turn up to our events, that's a different thing. That's when having a conversation with them. But if you're just going to go, we've just, in theory, I'm a skeptic, but we've won something. What are we protesting? Let them get a truncheon around the head.
Well, in all honesty, if I'd have been close to London, I would have attended there without it. In fact, I was gutted when I was seeing the footage that I wasn't there. Do you know what I mean? But that's the type of events that I would.
Mate, you know where it was? If I can't go there, you can't go there. The last 4 times I go there, I either get arrested or the police tell me I can't go there.
Wow.
If I go,
do they know who you are?
Mate, I know who I am.
Wow.
Yeah, mate. I get. Yeah. Oh, mate.
Yeah.
You're on a list then. They just see you and they're like, nope, gone.
Well,
this is Vinnie Sullivan of the Reality Report. He actually goes around with it used to honestly just be a group of people trying to engage in open media, just trying to document things for better or for worse. They're just there to document, film, and get the film out there, right?
Yeah.
But it became very quickly that they had enemies that didn't want to be filmed and didn't want them filmed, and eventually it just became that they wound up being more towards right-leaning because they just kept getting attacked. And eventually they found this Antifa group and a tip that they were going to commit terrorism in a parking lot.
Huh.
And this is where things get really crazy. There was somebody saying, hey, these guys are masking up. They've got weapons. There's like a whole bunch of, there's like 40 of them.
Omnis, if we're going to tell this story, it better be told specifically, very vaguely as well. I've just lost 4 people.
I will be very vague because several people actually got arrested in this skirmish.
Lost friends to prison for over a year each because of a fight with Antifa, and I'm not happy about it.
Yeah,
I've seen all the video footage, and basically what happened is they go there to basically ask them questions about their protest or what they're about to do or why they're there, if they're there to commit violence. And as soon as Vinny confronts them, they start attacking, masking up, a full parking lot brawl broke out. If you Google Battle of Seven Oaks, it'll probably come up pretty quick. Eventually, one of the Antifa members attempted to assassinate Vinnie by stabbing him in the head.
Jesus.
And it's all on camera. They stabbed him in the head. This Chad doesn't say anything to anybody, and he gets stitched up by one of his mates in a bar while he's bleeding out of his head. It's pretty crazy, but you can clearly see that there's just some people in suits that are trying to act, like normal individuals, and one side got masked up and clearly attacked. There was women and children being attacked, women's hair being ripped out, women being thrown to the ground. It's quite a violent scene, and eventually people had to try to secure the peace, and the people that secured the peace are now in prison. A activist judge, in my opinion, am I allowed to say what he said about the racism comment?
Well, I believe the quote was, "We're going to make an example out of racists like you." Yeah.
Whoa. Jeez.
Let me paint a picture for you, because on this, let me paint the picture for you.
Yeah.
We're at an event in a hidden location in a village town, if you like. If you can imagine a village town, what England was like, that's what it was. Away from the dangerous places, away from everywhere, a genuinely hidden location in suits on a weekend. 40 men and women in balaclavas, stab-proof vests, ballistic gloves, and weapons turn up in black on a sunny day in this village, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, if you were a policeman and you saw 40 men in balaclavas, you'd think, Jesus Christ, bank robbers, terrorists, right? Get the guns out.
Yeah.
This needs to be treated seriously, not turn up and say, move along. Never mind in a village. Now, anyway, they've turned up. They're getting our event closed down. They've come well out of their way. So this is obviously conspiracy to violence, which carries a 10-year sentence in this country. It is terrorism. And there was women and people with us that were genuinely frail. Now, they were keying up to smash this pub to bits, and the women, etc., would have been brutalized.
Mm-hmm.
So we either had to confront them at the car park, through them, everything would be hunky-dory, no one would be in prison, and everyone would be fine. But the thing with us is we're shadow banned into oblivion to the point where you'll hear about Proud Boys, good luck to them. I'm very sorry to hear what happened to them. But because we confront them on such a high basis, you will not hear about. We just lost 4. One got a year and a half in prison.
Oh, jeez.
And a half.
And to be clear, like, your guys just did nothing but defend themselves. Is that what I'm getting? You're hearing here?
And women that were getting thrown to the ground.
Wow.
At one point, it was pretty hairy. So yes, there was some exchange. I mean, when I got stuck in the head, there was obviously, I had a firm debate with the person I thought that it was.
Wasn't Lucy Brown there?
So,
didn't she get a huge chunk of her hair ripped out? Who was that got their hair ripped out?
Yes, that was Lucy Brown. That was, yeah. At the point that I got stuck, I was helping a woman up off the floor because she had wound up on the floor somehow. And in the photo, there's a still shot of me getting stuck in the head with this military style. It was like a torch with military sharpened teeth, and it virtually cut me. Like it was a glass.
Wow.
Anyway, but in the still shot, you can see this skinny guy is hiding behind his big chunky mate, and he's got round and stuck me in the head. Now, I was moving. Had it been any lower or higher, I'd have lost an eye or whatever. But I'd never met him before. He was willing to just do that to me over what? Nothing. And anyway, the point is, definition of terrorism is that the police turn up. I've now lost 4 people to prison, good people. They're going to have to restart their careers. They've got their own families, jobs they've lost now. For what? And everything would be fine. Everything would be hunky-dory, good as gold. So I wasn't going to touch on that subject, but honestly, you brought it up. And for me, I've got a lot of love and respect for the people that are inside, and I'm not going to leave them behind. We leave no one behind.
Yeah. No, I'm actually glad that was brought up because I had no clue this ever happened. I bet most of our listeners and viewers had no clue this happened. And what's always troubling, because I follow the Proud Boys thing a lot, it seems like, in my opinion, a lot of activist judges are just, they don't care. They're just locking people up because they think they're racist. They think they're Nazis, even though some of these Proud Boys were married in interracial marriages. And the Proud Boys, a multiracial group. and you see all this stuff happening, and then the cops either are not even existent, like at the scene of these things, even though everybody knows, like Antifa's going to show up to this. The cops here do not show up at all, or when they're there, they do nothing. Why do you think the cops just seem totally like...
Police are terrified. I honestly cannot explain to even Omnis here. Omnis and I are close. I've spoken to him for a long time, and even himself, I have to sometimes start from scratch. Americans do not understand how bad it is here and what it's like to not have actual freedom of speech. They don't know how spoiled they are. When you don't have speech, you can't stop the manipulation of your own police force, your government. You can't stop your culture changing. Words are more powerful than weapons will ever be. A gun may stop something, but unless you can truly say paedophilia is wrong, then when you start saying, oh, but it offends someone, but hang on, it shouldn't matter. But your amendment gives you the ability to combat things with facts. And it's something that only you have. And it's many Americans, I think, get depressed. And I think, in fact, they should be very proud of the fact that they have that. We're jealous of that amendment until you live without it. And our police basically, in some police departments and what have you, they will not allow white men to apply for obviously multicultural rotas, and that can go for fire departments, obviously ITV, BBC, and these are all influential things. So the patriotism you have in many police departments, you have no idea how lucky you are to have it. Here, it's a different world. It's a different world.
Totally. I mean, they're totally against us as the police. I mean, I've seen a lot of footage in America, and the police are really steaming into these, the Antifa there.
I've seen them come out with sirens, playing music. I've seen them,
Yeah.
I mean, I've been interviewing a few Antifa members, trying to speak to them, get answers out of them. And there's two officers stood at the side of me, and they're not watching for an attack. They're watching me. And soon as they feel it's ready, the time is right, they'll then step in, pull me. I've been arrested 4 times in Leeds, my own town, for attending a protest, just to video it, and I've been arrested within minutes.
What?
Within minutes.
They knew who he was. On the video, you can see the officer knew who he was. He said his name.
I did find the video.
Last time I went to Extinction Rebellion, I've got a video on it. You can hear the police on the radio saying my name. I had to get out. It turned into Assassin's Creed in the end. I was in the crowd trying to get out. They're on the radio going...
Didn't we check my footage before, didn't we? And you heard my name on radio as I walked past an officer.
Yeah.
And it
is... I mean, and at this point, look, you start the game thinking, oh, I want to give people information. And the better you get it, you get so much information, you realise I can't use any of it because it's so spicy. You end up with all this information.
You should tell them about the cops. You should tell them about the cops in red that show up everywhere. The special cops that show up when you guys are at the bar. Anytime you guys show up to try to film anything.
Yeah,
I know a lot of what I say can be listened to, and I say things that are risky as it is. I'm not here to make any more of an enemy out of the police than they already are. But yes, sometimes special people will stop me and start asking me
with cameras. They're a media organization, right? And they try to show up to engage in free press, and immediately the police know who they are, and they're not the normal cops. They're special police that come out of, like, what was it, red card? You can see this in some of the videos.
Yeah, I mean, the last protest I attended, I got surrounded by 5 police horses. I mean, I'm only 5'9", and I'm surrounded. I've got a body cam on. I've got my backpack. I've got my press card, and I'm showing him my press card. He's even telling me that's fake, and it's, you can't get a fake press card, press ID. And all it is a card with a photograph, the name of the organisation, basically saying I'm there for press, not for trouble. And just got surrounded by 5 horses. And this give me a section 35, which means I have to disperse from the area within 40 minutes. If I don't, I'm liable for arrest.
Wow. Well, what's that type of officer you said was called Red Card? What is that?
Oh, no. See, this is no. There was an occasion where a red car showed up, and it has specific types of police in it if you're in central London. And I don't really. I was speaking to Omnis, but he's not slipped up by talking about it. But they're the sort of police that if you bang on about them, they were not. Then you would never get stopped by the police if you was doing anything else.
Okay. Makes more sense.
You don't see their uniforms anywhere else or get those questions asked to you for no reason by anyone else. So unfortunately, my favorite place in the world, even though I've been to America, most beautiful country on the planet by far, the only thing you haven't got is, I think, the Amazon, I've been all over the place, but my favorite place in the world is still London, my 2,000-year-old city, as dingy and damp as it is. And now it is dangerous for me to go because my own government don't like my political views. So the heartbreak never ends over here, ladies and gentlemen. It never ends.
So because like I say, like you were kind of saying, well, we have the First Amendment. We don't really understand how bad the police are there. Can the police in your country literally just arrest you for anything they want? They don't have any, restrictions where no unreasonable searches?
Section 5,
they can
just throw Section 5 at you. Disorderly behaviour or breach of the peace. You even raise your voice.
And that's what they did to Tommy, too. They said it was breach of the peace.
They think that we had a suspicion he was up to something or conspiring violence or something, and we had to detain him for the public interest. Any claptrap.
I mean, all they do for the Section 5 as well is take you to the police station, and you're in the waiting room 5 minutes, and the charge sheet's already on the desk.
Wow.
No interview, no nothing. Thrown out of the police station, a 10-court, £180 fine, and all you've done is raise your voice.
Wow. So what do you guys then do to get around this, to, confront Antifa, to confront these groups without violence, obviously, but to sort of, like, how do you get around this? Like, how do you have, protests? How do you make your voices heard?
I don't get around it.
From the gutter, that's how.
I just ensure that I've always got camera recording, and whatever happens, no matter what, as long as I've got that on video, that's all that matters. I mean, 2 of the 4 times I've been arrested, 2 of the times I've had charges thrown on me, like assault police officer, criminal damage, you know what I mean? And because I've had the camera recording, they've been dropped before they've even gone to court. But nothing will stop me. I'll still go. I see, if I get arrested within minutes, I see that as progress, because it might not show the Antifa, but it's showing the establishment, the police, the corruptness of it. So I get success either way.
How much do you think the average Brit is knows about this stuff, is upset with it, and wants an end to it? Is this just sort of something that's only happening in the political circles know about, or do the average people know that this stuff happens and are pissed off about it?
I think the average person knows it happens, but they don't know how deep it is, how bad it is. I didn't even know how desperate the police are when you attend these events. They just want rid of you. They will do anything to get rid of you.
Depends on your power levels. It depends on how much you know.
Yeah. Do you think? I kind of know the answer to this, but it seems like you guys said, they kind of know who you are and all these sort of things. How do they? Do they have a list? Do they go around? Do all the officers know who the people on the right that are going to show up are?
One of the scariest things is the idea that if you're on a terrorist watch list, which I can only assume some of us are, because that's how this country seems to work, that when they do arrest you for something minute, that they can come in and say, oh, by the way, we don't have to let you go because you're on a watch list.
Oh, I see. Wow.
So when you never know. And the thing is, put it this way, if I wanted to make up a cult that earned me millions of pounds in donations, then I had mansions, and I said I was Mary Magdalene's second son or something. Everyone, the council would let me do it as long as I paid my tax. Everyone would let me do it. But so I can lie all I like and make money out of it. But if I dare start telling the truth, if I dare start saying things which are truly wrong, that suffer, and that's when we have to question society.
Well, yeah. Sorry, what was that?
I think the shoe on the other foot test kind of shows it all. I mean, imagine Chris Cuomo hears that there's going to be a riot, that a group has basically stated that they're going to mask up and oppose, quote unquote, and they're masking up to go do something. Chris Cuomo gets a scoop. He goes there. He turns on his camera, and then he sees from across the room the cop saying, coming just beelining straight for him and nobody else but him. They've just stepped out of a car. They're there specifically for him, and they're there to ask him questions, and he's got to duck them. I mean, that's basically the state of free press in this country. It's ridiculous. It would never happen.
Jeez. This stuff is hard for some, like you guys saying, Americans to conceptualize, because we don't have it this bad. Like I have so much sympathy for you guys.
With the press as well, there's straight bias, because when the two protests that I attended when I wasn't running this organisation, the right was constantly pointing out left-wing photographers, constantly coming around the protest and taking photographs of the Patriots. And then they put these photographs online, and then they expose them. Some of the Patriots lose their jobs, lose their home, they get shamed and everything. So when they're getting pointed out, the police, their answer to it was, well, they're press. It's a public place. They're allowed to do this. But as soon as we're going to do the same thing to the left, there's a problem. That's when we're either arrested, sent away, or whatever. We cannot go near them, and that's exactly how it is.
How deep do you guys think this sort of, I could say corrupt police or police letting Antifa slide behavior goes? Are they answering from just their bosses in the police division, or does this go much higher, in the government and, in just the general UK Parliament?
I'd say this definitely. Go on, Vinnie.
Oh, Sam, do you want to go first? Because I've got a lot of this.
Well, we've learned that there's council organisations called the council, which you may have heard of the council. They buy houses and rent houses out. It's them that fixes all the roads, and you know what I mean. But they get funding. Antifa get funding from these councils.
Are these councils like government councils?
Yeah,
Okay.
They're all they're all funded by the government. We've noticed that 90%, well, I'd say all 100% of Antifa organisations are all funded also by the Labour Party, which is the opposition of our government.
I'll wait, and then I'll give my take on and add to what he's saying, because there's also additional forces that are at play there.
Okay.
Maybe not get all the way.
Yeah, so we've got
I won't go that far.
We've got the links to political parties, councils, which are all linked to the government. But yeah, with the schools, they're doctrinating them in schools and colleges. They're targeting the students to get them on board.
Oh, Antifa's targeting students? How are they doing that?
Well, what they're doing is they're putting all their propaganda in the colleges. There's an organisation called the Socialist Workers' Party. They sell newspapers, and they're similar to Antifa, but they've got they're more political.
Too much credit. You're giving
these guys that hang around the colleges and sell their propaganda to the students, and any protests that are going on, they'll attend the colleges and hand out pickets so they can just hug these pickets. It's madness, mate. It really is. Vinnie, you can put a little insight into it.
At that point, though, whether it's anti-fascist intel or actual street thuggery soldiers, when you see someone that's a member of a leftist organisation handing out leaflets, that is Bruce Wayne, and they think that when they're dressed up as Antifa, that's Batman. Don't be disguised, or don't be, don't be misled. When you see a leftist giving out these things, they are quite happy to see Antifa bash you up, or they are the intel division. They are Antifa, don't be mistaken. But as far as how deep it goes, I have to remind everyone the deep state, as it were, I'm not going to refer too deeply into it, or the system in place, has been here long before even, say, America existed. So being able to manipulate our law, manipulate our language, was done, so easily and in the homelands, as it were, with great comfort. So the idea, when people say, "Oh, we're talking out of conspiracy," I say, "Well, wear a Trump hat to work then. Go and talk about Brexit at work. You know you can't because you'll get fired. You know it's not a conspiracy." The point is, over here, when you say how bad it is, I think you know, and it stems in every walk of life. Education, your child is not safe. If your child is a victim of a rape gang and you go around to the house, you could be sent to prison for racism. Means nothing. And it's hard for me to be too vivid without it being upsetting to understand how helpless we feel. When the day you realize that your authorities really don't care about you, it's a hard pill to swallow. But it's not just a myth. They will hide things. They will set you up. It's a very hard pill to swallow. And even people that are hardened soldiers find that when they find that they've been living a lie, it breaks them. It really does. But it does stiffen your patriotism, and it actually gives you finally know where you're going. When you lose all the falsehoods, you finally know where you're going.
What hope then is left there to combat this, or make Britain great again?
Right. The thing is,
get the public on board. I think that's the only way. That is the only way.
Yeah, that nationalism and patriotism is a right, that it's not a cancer, that you should do it and you should debunk everything at a whim, no longer allow language laws to define us as a nation and to install some sort of backbone. But ultimately, people say to me, "Do you think you're saving Britain?" I say, no, I'm black-pilled. I'm going down with this ship. I'm not going to leave. I know that we're in trouble, but we have, like I said, a 2,000-year-old city full of wonder, full of myth, full of legend, and we're not going down without a fight. We do not have any notion that we think we're going to win a war. We've been left behind. And any American as well, which teases us over it, I wouldn't tease Sweden over how bad they are. We need your help, boys.
Well, then to switch gears back to what we were originally talking about near the beginning, what do you guys think the recent election means for Britain, and why do you think there was such a huge victory for the Conservative Party that we haven't seen since Margaret Thatcher?
Lee, have you got this, or shall I go on?
No, the EU's the main thing for me.
Unfortunately,
that's all the public want. They just want to get out of it.
It doesn't. Yeah, they think it's Brexit related, but ultimately the two-tier party system is a joke. Like I said earlier, it's not what it says on the tin. There hasn't been a Conservative Party in this country since the days of Thatcher. It's only what it says on the tin. Inside there's no beans. So I'm yet to see anything. It means, as far as I'm concerned, it means bugger all. And as far as some of our old leaders are concerned, if we was leaving the EU, it'd have been done day one, and we'd have felt whatever consequences and not given a toss about it. So what this 3-year malarkey is about, there's no excuse. I'm sick of the discussions. Let's leave. So Boris better do something about it, and I'm sick of people giving him credit until I see it, to be honest.
Well, I've done it tactically, really. I mean, I'm not all for Boris now. I mean, I would just for Boris until this election was over. I don't care who it is. I honestly don't. I just want to get out of the European Union, and whoever's going to do it.
You'd have cared if it was Corbyn.
I mean, I'm not a Conservative supporter. Certainly not a Labour. Anything that's right wing, I am. But
within reason.
Yeah, within reason.
Do you guys think Jeremy Corbyn is actually going to leave, like he's somewhat hinting at doing? Like, is he done finally?
I don't. We were on about this the other day, weren't we, Vinnie? We don't really want him to leave.
Yeah,
we don't.
Of course not.
We don't, because if he leaves, somebody else is going to come in, and what if he's liked? What if he gains or she gains all the support?
Away, what the hell you know than the hell you don't.
Yeah, that's exactly it. So I don't want him to leave.
interesting.
He's a pawn anyway. It means nothing. Look at him. He's a frail snail shell. The guy.
Yeah. He's got so many things that he's done wrong. He'll never get in power. Never.
Yeah. Well, he's definitely not going to be getting the Jewish vote anytime soon.
Oh, I mean, yeah. Neither will many people, but I'm sure we'll survive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you have any questions you'd like to ask these guys at Dictator Phil?
I feel like you answered a lot of what I was like. Thanks, Sean, for introducing me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, I did a great
very
job
nice
at
of
that.
you did a fantastic job. I just want to let you know. No, but no, I feel like I feel like Corbyn is a lot like Nancy Pelosi over here.
Reminds me of
Yeah,
Bernie.
the Speaker of the House. Yeah, because it's like she's in power, but it's not like she's not really much of anything, really. She's like that. She's a Speaker of the House. She really doesn't do much of anything. So it's like, well, I really don't care if she's all that's in power. Then I really don't care. But like, of course I don't want to see her in power, but I definitely would rather her than like
Somebody
AOC,
sensible.
somebody extreme like AOC going.
Well, it's a bit different with Corbyn because we fear if Corbyn gets in power.
Oh,
It's scary thought. You think,
It's
Vinnie?
funny, if Corbyn was in power, people like myself or Lee, we wouldn't know what would be our future. That virtually they could treat us. I don't even want to talk about it because you never know when they could come into power, and anyone who's done the things we've done could suddenly be considered worth kicking their doors in and putting them in prison for nothing.
Yeah,
They're not
people
pro
like us
free
will be
speech.
targeted straight away,
okay.
immediately.
I do gotta. You know what? I'm really sorry. I do have a question. So guns are banned. Yes.
Yeah.
Knives are banned. Yes. Within some like craziness.
If you're
right?
using it for butter.
Yeah.
You can own a gun. You can own a gun here. It's just tighter licensing. You can own a gun there.
Yeah, you gotta get a permit,
Alright.
right? A license.
So
Well, it's got to a point now. It's got to a point now where if somebody burgles your house in the UK and you give that person a beating, you're getting a charge.
Jeez.
yeah.
You are
no,
getting a charge, and it doesn't matter if you was in bed being woken up by this burglar or whoever. If you give this person a beating, you're going to jail.
in some states, it's like that here. I'm
Yeah.
pretty sure it's like that in California.
Yeah,
In
I'd
California,
imagine.
it's like that. I think in some areas in New York, it's like that too. Yeah, I would say they're probably London light because they've got look. London's gone extreme. Like I almost feel like London is like the way of the future for California and New York, because those areas are like liberal central. It's so I feel like whatever's going on in London, it's like I feel like it California slowly follows thereafter.
I live here. I know I live in California. I know exactly what's. So
Yeah.
You poor soul.
they want the coastline. It's very strategic. They want the coastline and all the shipping ports. That way they can control all the commerce. It's that simple. So they set up basically in these areas to, well, it started with the voting laws with the voter ID laws where you no longer need an ID in California to vote. As soon as that happened, basically people started pandering to illegal aliens saying, if you vote for me, we'll ignore what's going on in these neighborhoods and we'll allow you to just flood as many people as you want. And that's fine up until a point until they start having problems. But then when they actually need to confront these Congress people, they're like, no, what? You're not, you're not here legally. You can't, you can't have all of the rights of a citizen to speak out because we'll just, deport you like anybody else would if you try to speak out or write a letter to your congressperson saying that this is, unacceptable living conditions or whatever. And they actually implement racist strategies in these big cities. Like I've seen it myself. I've lived in the wrong side of town where there's 4 different times of street sweeping on the same block. So each side of the block is a different time, right? And they're ridiculous times too. It's like 3 a.m. to 6 a.m., 3 a.m. to 4 a.m., 6 a.m. to 8 a.m., like very, very randomized. And so what happens is everybody that's there on Section 8 or welfare, they've got all day for a parking spot because they've got no place to go. But anybody that has a job has to circle around the block and try to most likely park in the red with their hazards on. And then when they get 4 tickets a month, which are like $90 each, and they can't pay them, they get their vehicle stolen, like by the police department. They tow it off the street, and then they're allowed to sell it that day under the asset forfeiture laws. Like it was engaged in a crime, parking illegally, and therefore they can sell it. So if you don't go bail it out before they put it up on auction the next month or the next week, sometimes the same day, you won't get your car back. And there's nothing you can do about it. You'll get no money for it. So they steal all the wealth in certain neighborhoods, and they make it so that you're only allowed to have small coffin apartment style houses where there is no parking. Like if you want to have a parking garage, get ready for some serious OSHA regulations as far as structural or anything. Even if you just want an open lot parking lot, it's actually like not really very profitable. So all of these things add up to there's no place to park, and it's basically musical cars. So they steal the wealth from one neighborhood, and then in the other neighborhood, they instill this ridiculous privilege where it's like street sweeping isn't until like 1 to 4 in the afternoon. There's nobody that parks there anyway because these are great big housing lots. And they set it up this way on purpose, and then they basically point to that neighborhood, look, these racists are stealing everything from you while they pocket all the money.
God, that's awful. I mean, we were actually had Trent Lipinski, who's a Silicon Valley former CEO, I believe. He did a few startups, and he was talking about California, and he just had so many just horror stories of like some stuff that in a lot of cities you don't even consider a problem. That's not even a thing, like the pooping in the streets of San Francisco and all these other places, the electricity just blacking out. I don't see California ever getting any better until it gets really, really bad. It's got to get really, really bad before it gets any better, I think. But is there in England, is there any part of England that has well, I kind of said London has kind of like California, but are there any parts of like England that are really conservative, that have like a strong conservative presence, or kind of like a Texas that we have here, which is super red?
Areas like that, but it's a very small country, so like violence, like anything, it's such a small country that if you run your mouth, eventually you can run into someone. It's the same with your political views or whatever.
Would you say there's like a silent majority then? Like a kind of like a very silent, but when it comes to voting, they're going to vote conservative, but they are.
Yes. In England, there was once a time when if you ask someone who they were voting for, it was like, farting in public. you don't ask, because we live so close together. You know, they're very secretive, and conservative, if you like, with their views. So yeah, there was once a time when it was really taboo to ask someone who they were voting for. It's like asking how much someone earns at a job. You just don't do it. Nowadays, it's different. You know, you say, you better be voting for Conservative, grabbing them, putting them up against the wall. You better be, you know, it's different altogether now, you know, with the political.
The opposite parties are extreme enemies, aren't they?
Well, I have to point this out because I don't know how much longer I'm going to be on. It's 1:20 in the morning here. In the last years, since we've seen Brexit and Trump come about, we've seen a genuine increase in maximum cultural Marxism increase tenfold. What would have taken 10 to 20 years has taken 3 years. They have increased the craziness in an attempt to increase the plan, speed it up, because obviously we are showing a pushback. They expected the intellectual level of the West to just falter, to just weaken and suffer. But I will say to the enemies of the West, you do your worst and we will do our best.
Nice. Well, we only have about a few minutes till another break, so if you guys have any final thoughts, want to mention where people can find you online, on social media or anywhere, please do so, and we'll close it out then after that.
Hey, do you want to go first quickly? We won't have much.
First of all, I'd like to thank you extremely for giving us this platform to let you Americans know what life is like in the UK. You will be able to find Antifa Public Watch on Facebook. We have a page on there. You can find us on Twitter. We're on Telegram, Instagram, MeWe, Gab. Just search Antifa Public Watch and we'll come up whatever platform it is.
Nice.
Yeah.
Thanks
for having us.
Yeah, of course. Thanks for coming on.
Yeah, thank you very much for coming on.
Oh, no problem.
Same, Vinnie Sullivan on YouTube or Reality Report. Unfortunately, if you Google us, please do not believe what you read. If you do, so be it. It won't really falter us. I won't plug myself too much. You can find us on Telegram and what have you, like I said. All of our other links, but I'd rather take this moment to say you are the last bastion of the West, and we cherish you dearly. Please do not lose your confidence, because we're not going to. We've got it far worse. We're not going to let them beat us, so we need you.
And the UK stands with you, side by side.
Oh, it's a bit far, but we stand over here with you.
You know what I mean.
No, we appreciate it. Thank you. We stand with you guys too.
Right, we're going to duck out now because the signal's just gone up in the sky. The right-wing signal's just gone up, Lee. They need us.
Yeah.
Let's go.
See you later,
It's like
guys.
a bat signal.
Take care, guys.
Yeah, see ya. Thank you. Oh, that was awesome.
And yeah, you're welcome. And you can find me at omnislabz.com. It's not quite up yet, but it should be up pretty soon. It's mostly up.
Omnis Labz, love it. But thank you for getting those guys on, because I've talked to the one guy before, the Vinnie guy, but I haven't talked to the other ones. But that was very interesting, and thank you for coming on, and thank you for bringing them on too, because that was really eye-opening. A lot of stuff we heard, because we've not heard this stuff before on this side with the pawn. So thank you so much, sir.
Yeah, you're welcome. I heard you guys said you needed some British opinions, and I was like, you know what? These guys really need their story told. Lazy, shy to tell it themselves. So thank you very much for giving them a platform.
Of course.
Have a good one, guys.
Yep, you too.
Yep. Take care of yourself.
That was a really interesting conversation.
It was.
Yeah.
It was. It's cool. It's cool to have people like that from like all different walks of life, just to kind of give this, put some context into what it's like just around the world. I know last week we had Trent on, and he was great Like he gave us some really great insight on California. We really don't hear that much, like on the news or anything like that. There's really not much they talk about with California. So unless you're actually there, it's not like you
don't quite get it.
I don't think.
Yeah, and that's the thing too with these guys. Yeah, exactly. Because like you hear about some crazy things that happen, like the Tommy Robinson arrest, but you don't hear the daily crazy occurrences, like where they say they can just pretty much arrest you for breach of the peace, like if they don't like what you're doing, or they're afraid you're going to start something. Makes V for Vendetta, makes 1984 all seem like they're not just like these sort of dystopian things. They're more possible now in Britain, I think, particularly than ever. I think America, we're very lucky and have a lot of hope, but countries like Britain, man, are in a rough spot.
Mm-hmm.
But speaking of America, I wanted to touch quickly on the impeachment stuff, since that's has some small things. I know it is dumb, it is frivolous, and we all know how it's going to play out. But the Dems announced the articles of impeachment, saying they announced two. They said Trump did abuse of power, obstruction of Congress, and they're getting these charges from. They claim that Trump pressured Ukraine to investigate the Bidens, and that he obstructed the Democrats by refusing to comply with subpoenas and directing members of his administration to do the same thing. And they're going to vote on this on Wednesday. The House will, and we all know the House is going to pass it, and then it's going to go to the Senate. And when it gets to the Senate, they're just going to say Trump's, they're going to quit Trump, or I forget the term is, but they're going to say Trump's fine. He didn't do anything wrong here, and he's going to stay president. He's going to win 2020 in a landslide. And we're going to see people lose their minds again and again and again. So that's all I have to say on it, honestly. What do you think, Phil?
There's nothing more unimportant than this whole impeachment mess. Like, I go to work and people are listening. Some of my coworkers listen to it in their car. They listen to CNN, and I'm like,
"Oh God,
why? Why would you listen to it? You know what's going on, and it's not very important." Like, he's like, "Yeah, but the impeachment's only happened a couple of times in American history." I'm like, "Look, they've soiled the Democrats have soiled the impeachment process. Like, the impeachment process was created to give actual checks and balances. This impeachment process has been purely used as a political tool.
Yeah.
And it's not even yet the only thing, it was done to try to win political points, and it totally backfired. The only people it won over weren't won over anyway. Like, you already got them. You already got those weirdo supporters that actually support this impeachment mess. They're on their side anyway. Like, you're trying to get moderates. And maybe even a few Republicans to try to back you up if you think this impeachment thing is going to go through, and you don't have any of them. And the impeachment process just got worse and worse by the day. And
now nothing's going to happen. Nothing is going to happen to Trump, and nothing is going to happen for the American people. That's what they're really screwing themselves. Is the Democrats, like, after they announce it, they go, "Oh, by the way, we're gonna." Nancy Pelosi pulls out the USMCA and is like, "Oh, remember that trade deal I haven't been putting to the floor for the past year? Yeah, let's do it now." And people are gonna look at that and be like, "Screw you!" Like, why you're so phony and fake to bring it up now. And Trump's obviously going to say, "Hey guys, let's vote for this thing and actually get something done and be the adults in the room here." And it's going to look so silly on them. I mean, oh God, like you said, this is so stupid and pointless. It is the least, like, when impeachments happen, like with Nixon and with Clinton, people were glued to their TVs like, "Oh my God, what's going to happen?" This time it's like, nobody cares. I've never seen a people care less about an impeachment ever. That's why, like, when I almost forget to mention it, on the show, because it's so stupid. But that's all I gotta say, really.
Yeah, it's like it would have been different. It would have been different if it was like if it was some quid pro quo for something false. It's like he legitimately asked about something that was going on, and it's not like Hunter Biden's not corrupt.
Yeah, exactly.
Like it's not like the story that
well,
the storyline of Hunter Biden is absolutely incredible. It's enough to laugh, but not so much in a funny way. But
yeah. Well, what we can do, because we didn't talk about this a few weeks ago when the movie came out, because we like to do movie reviews here. So two of us here at least saw Martin Scorsese's new film, The Irishman, that was on Netflix and in select theaters. It's 3.5 hour long, three-way between De Niro, Pacino, and Pesci on screen together, I believe for the first time ever. And there was also some de-aging technology because it shows like the life of this one guy throughout the whole film. So those are sort of the things that's all I knew about this film going into it. I didn't know anything about it until I saw it. And I was surprised to see that there's this Jimmy Hoffa storyline here. That's what Pacino plays as Hoffa. Or did I say Jimmy Pacino? Al Pacino. Al Pacino plays Jimmy Hoffa. And I thought he was great as that. But overall, I think it was... I'm not going to lie. I didn't think it was that great. I thought it was good and had some good stuff going for it. I think there was some good acting. I think there was good set design, good cinematography, and good acting moments and some good character moments, some good story moments. But I think overall, I'm not going to lie, I really didn't get the point of it. And I really didn't like walk away from it like wowed or anything, or... I mean, it was too long, I felt. Like, you could trim so much from that movie. And there were some interesting angles with, like, the daughter of De Niro's character that could have been explored way more. We'll keep it to non-spoilers for now, but what was your non-spoiler takeaway from it, Phil?
I was... The more I think about it, the more I'm not as... Like, I thought it was okay. It was good, not great. Yeah. But now I'm starting to think that it might have been average. It might, and now I'm starting to lean more toward average because like Al Pacino played Jimmy Hoffa, but it was like he didn't really do that good of an acting job. Like it was more. It was Al Pacino.
Yeah,
like, it was like Al
Pacino.
Pacino. Like if Al Pacino played any role,
yeah.
That would be it. Like
yeah.
it just so happens in this movie he was Jimmy Hoffa. Like, but it's still Al Pacino. It's like all the mannerisms, all the thing. Like, what is Scarface Jimmy Hoffa? What's going on?
See that like, the thing too. I know you've seen a lot more Scorsese movies and a lot more Pacino movies. I'm not gonna lie. I have seen only parts of Wolf of Wall Street. I think Hugo, wasn't that a Scorsese film? I seen that because we saw it in the class. And then I've seen this film. Haven't seen Goodfellas. I know it's a crime. I haven't seen Casino. I know it's a crime too. But I know that those are better movies than this. Like, I haven't seen them, so that says something on its own.
Yeah.
I thought this movie just had good moments, but as an overall package, I went back and forth. I started thinking, when I walked out of it, I thought it was okay. I wasn't impressed. And then I heard some people talking about it. I was like, it seems a little bit better than I expected. Now I'm back to where you are, which I'm like, it's okay. I mean, we're going to spoilers now. So everybody, spoiler alert. I will say there are two moments that really stuck out to me as just not good at all. Like when De Niro lands in Detroit and he's driving that car for so long. He goes to that house where they eventually killed Jimmy Hoffa. That was so long and ridiculous. And the one scene in the beginning when his daughter, something happened in some grocery store with his daughter and the shop owner, and he goes back to beat up the shop owner. and you see him pull the guy out, throw him on the street, and when he's beating him up, it looks like old De Niro. This doesn't look like some 40-year-old De Niro like beating up. Like he's slowly like kicking him, and I'm just like, see, those moments like that, just like it hurt it for me. It took me out of it.
Yeah, I'm surprised that they found somebody smaller than De Niro to actually to play the store owner. Like that was pretty incredible.
That's a feat.
Pretty incredible. They found someone. Yeah, because he's like this brittle old man now. Like what? How is that gonna play out? And it's like you could tell in that little scene where he's supposed to be beating him up. It's like you could tell just he's old, and it's like there's no way those punches would land or be effective in real life at all.
Yeah, I know. And it's just I've never been a fan of De Niro. I think he just phones in this role. Like there was nothing like that impressed me about it. You know what I mean?
No, I don't think I really don't think I like the shot. The shot to start the movie, like they were going in the old folks home,
yeah,
and that was kind of cheesy. Like the cinematography and to start the movie was very bland. I was like,
it was very much like things he's done before too, from what I understand.
Like,
And
I think they tried to fit the storyline, and then they tried to add what they thought happened or something. I don't know. It's just very, I don't know. I wasn't buying some of the missing pieces to the storyline. I don't know.
I thought
thing,
too,
it was okay. It was okay.
I thought near the end, like you knew he was gonna die, and they spent like 20 minutes just like you sitting there just waiting for him to finally kick the bucket, and it's like it drags on for way too long. It just didn't engage me that much.
And
like,
they assumed, is it me? I guess they assumed that JFK was killed on a mob hit or something.
Yeah, they do.
Like, I'm like, I don't know. That's kind of you can't really get away with that. Like I mean,
yeah, they really leaned hard into that. Like they assumed that Hoffa was in bed with like all these mobs, and they assumed that JFK was taken out by the mob. Which, look, is it fun to play with in a movie? Absolutely. It's very it's movie stuff that people are gonna eat up. But it's just, I just. Like I said, what I didn't get was like, what is the point of this story? Like Robert De Niro's character is an awful person throughout the whole thing. And at the end of it, he has no remorse. He's just like, yeah, I did bad things. It's all right. It's fine. I did it for my family. And it's like, well, did you? Did you really? Did your family really like it? And he doesn't seem to care when his daughter's mad at him at the end. Like I just didn't get a point to it, or there was any sort of message. It was just sort of like, yeah, here's a terrible person who does terrible things. That's it, Yeah.
Yeah, I felt the same way. It's like there was really no substance. No, I mean there's some substance, but it wasn't enough to cover the storyline that they were trying to cover.
Yeah, exactly.
Because it was a big deal. Like when Jimmy Hoffa went missing, that was like a big deal back in the day. And like, it's very, I don't know. It felt like the storyline just felt a lot to be desired.
Yeah. Yeah. And I thought it's interesting to do a movie with Hoffa and like these mobs, ties him. I think that's interesting, but they just, I feel like they didn't do as much as they could have with it. I don't think it reached its full potential, and you get a feeling of disappointment because of that. But yeah, I think that wraps it up. I don't know if I'd recommend anybody watching this because you got to sit through 3.5 long hours. That's where another thing too. I love long movies. I want to make that clear. Like I love epics like Lawrence of Arabia, Ben-Hur, Lord of the Rings. Like I love that stuff. I love when movies give you you feel like you've earned your money with it. But this one I didn't feel it.
Yeah, the movie's not terrible.
No, it's not.
But lower your expectations when you see it. Because you're looking at so when you see it, like when you see all the people that are in it, you got the Martin Scorsese directing, you've got De Niro, Pacino, Pesci, all these guys. It's a loaded lineup, right? And you're looking at this thing and you're like, wow, this thing could really take off, right?
Yeah.
And just lower your expectations.
Yeah.
Like it's a watchable movie, but don't as long as you lower your expectations, I think you'll be fine.
Yeah, that's fair. So we have about 10 minutes left. We could talk about the YouTube harassment stuff. That's terribly interesting to me, except that YouTube now wants to have this vague definition of harassment, which could get a lot of videos pulled down. But our channel's still up, so yay for that. We haven't been kicked off yet. I was getting suspicious yesterday because I was uploading 2 videos, and it kept sitting at 0% processing. And I was like, uh-oh, what are they doing? Are they screwing with us here? This is a bit fishy, but videos did upload, so we're fine on that. Is there anything you want to talk about? I mean, it could be totally unrelated. It could just be anything.
Oh, Trump completed phase 1 of the China trade deal. That's pretty awesome.
Yes, he did.
Yeah. All that, like if he manages to pull this off, I don't know.
I think he's gonna pull something off. I think it's looking pretty good. I mean, I don't know what the deal's gonna encompass, but the fact that we're getting a deal says something.
I heard people like when it started to get done. When I was looking at the trade deal, like they had CNBC had Jim Cramer on to talk about it, and he immediately was saying something like, "Oh, this is a disaster. China's playing us," and I'm like, "How do you know that China's playing us? Like these trade deals are like hundreds of pages. Like how do you know? Like this thing just got signed, and you're already saying, "Oh, China's playing us." How do you know? Maybe if it could be that we won. Like it could be that we won. Like you just don't know. And I'm like, I don't know.
And Kramer's not a Trump hater, is he? He's kind of 50-50 on Trump, I think.
I don't know. He works. See, I have to take that with a grain of salt.
Yeah.
He works for NBC, so it's not. I really have to I have to tiptoe on that one.
I know that's what's tricky. I know. I've been sometimes a little bit confused on where he aligns, but it's. I think though that, like I said, if there's anybody that's gonna get the best out of this, it's gonna be Trump than any other president. But I think it's an interesting time that happened too, like right around the UK elections. Let's keep that in mind.
Yeah, I feel like the phase 1. I think a chunk of it was the agricultural purchases for China, and that's a big one. I think this might have benefited the United States. So when I think about how much like China needs agriculture, like bad, it needs bad, and like you could tell, like we were hurting a little bit, but China was hurting worse. And so how long do they think they're gonna like they were gonna go toe to toe? And the longer this whole thing went on, and it's like, okay, so Trump is heavily favored to win the 2020 election now. So now China's probably thinking, oh, now we have to do, because they're not going to be able to live with 4 more years of this mess. And So it's time. It's time. It's just like, okay. I feel like we might have gotten the better of that deal, but I mean, of course I haven't seen it, so I don't know for sure, but
yeah, exactly. That's the thing. Is a lot of these people like on CNN are like jumping these conclusions on it, and I bet most of them haven't even like looked at the actual trade deal, and probably don't even understand what all this stuff means. Like, I'll be honest, I don't understand what a lot of stuff means, so I just say I trust Trump. He gets this stuff better than me. I trust him.
Yeah, I wonder how this is. If a trade deal does get done, I wonder how this hits the entertainment industry too, because like they've like I feel like China wants to create their own Hollywood. Like they want to create their own Hollywood.
Yeah.
But the trade war has kind of, I don't know. There's ever since the trade war, there's been a whole lot of like Chinese investment in Hollywood. So I don't know. I think I'm assuming that if a trade deal goes through, they could actually go back and do their own stuff, which could hurt Hollywood.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, that's the thing. I mentioned this with Trent. Like, I don't get when these groypers and some of these other people on the right obsess over the Israeli influence on America. It's the Chinese influence that's the biggest issue, the biggest hindrance to America first. They have way more power, way more people, way more dominance, way more authoritarianism than Israel could ever have. They have all the manufacturing. They have all these things going on. You know,
there's a whole bunch of it's like Israel is not as important to me as say China or Saudi Arabia or some of these or Iran. So a lot of these guys, like, you know, Saudi Arabia, they had like there was some, I think there was some Saudi investment group that dropped a while ago. They dropped some investment into Twitter. I'm like, you don't think that's going to have an influence on how they behave? You know, that if a whole big injection of money goes into that company, you don't think that's not going to come with strings? You don't think like, and I can't imagine that that's very pro-America. Like, we're energy, like the U.S. is energy independent. That's not good for Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia is rich in oil. We're here digging up our own stuff. You think that's going to be that? You think that's a positive light for Saudi Arabia?
I want to mention something else because you said Saudi Arabia kind of ties into this a bit. This is breaking news. Trump is expected to announce next week that he's going to be pulling thousands of troops out of Afghanistan. So all those hardline people that are harping about Trump not fulfilling promises, well, there you go. He's found the right time to pull out, sounds like, and he's pulling more people out.
Yeah. I hope it's safe, like, because I've been over there. I hope it's safe and like more silent. Because like just telling somebody when they're being pulled out, that's a bad idea.
Yeah, that's an Obama.
Yeah, that literally is. But I think they're gonna do better with this one. I
think so too. I think Trump is way more strategic with these pullouts. You know, people because people on the right, in a funny way, expect him to do what Obama does. They literally want him to literally just one day say, "Hey, we're pulling everyone out," and pull them all out. I'm like, that's not how these things work.
Well, he's good at appointing the right people. Like, he's good at appointing the right people and then listening to those people. Like, I do believe that that there's been, I mean, because you didn't really get that vibe with like Obama and some of his some of the people that were appointed. He kind of butted heads with a lot of them.
Last thing I'll mention too, for our last few seconds here, is that Time Magazine also picked Greta Thunberg as their Person of the Year. They didn't pick the Hong Kong protests. Yes, protest groups and more than one person can be appointed as Times Person of the Year for anybody who says that they've done it before. They didn't pick the Hong Kong protesters who have been on national news for months and been risking their life. They have picked Greta Thunberg. Absolutely crazy. What are your thoughts on that?
Time is trash. I mean, it's not it's nowhere close what it used to be. It's because it's not owned by Time Warner, and it's not like it's owned by the guy, the creator of Salesforce. So it's not like, I don't know. It's pushing it's definitely pushing an agenda too. I think they gave another award to somebody. I think they gave the award to the people that were in the impeachment hearings.
Oh,
like
God.
Some of the people that
the
testified.
whistleblower is one of the actual finalists too, which is comical.
Yeah, I'm like, what? These people are like partisan garbage. Like, you're gonna give them an award? Yeah, okay.
Thank you for listening. We'll be back next week with more real news.